Hello and welcome to our very first Project Love video.
Woo-hoo!
We've decided that we're going to start experimenting by jumping in front of the camera to chat to you about all sorts of topics on love. So we decided that today we would kick off by talking about some of the lessons that we have learnt in our relationships over this past year, because we both just celebrated our anniversaries. Vicky, how long is yours?
5 years.
And mine was 2 years, with one baby happening in that time. So if there's anything that's going to put your relationship to the test, it's that. So we're each going to talk about 2 lessons that we've chosen that we've really learned over this past year that has helped to keep the love flowing in our relationships. So Vicky, what is the first lesson that you would like to share of how you've kept the love flowing in your relationship?
Well, a lesson that I've learnt is knowing how to ask for what I need. Rather than thinking that my boyfriend's a mind reader, if I really need something, so say if I'm really upset and I really need a cuddle, to actually just ask for what I need and not just expect him to know what I need intuitively, to actually just say, look, I'm a bit upset. Is it okay? Can you just give me a cuddle?
Yeah.
I think before I would expect him to do it and then be silently resenting him when he didn't. And then, you know, things like that, you can kind of let them stew and then they just impact the rest of your evening. So I've kind of learned how to just kind of catch things early and just say, and just ask the question. It does take a bit of courage, I think, to ask for what you need as well. So there's kind of the fear of that as well. But yeah, that's been a massive game changer for us.
I think also sometimes you can feel that if you have to ask for it, it won't feel as good when you get it. Because it's definitely something that I do, and I've actually done that right from the start, because by that point I was just like, I feel like I'm too old to care what you think about me asking this, and I want a hug right now, so I'm going to ask for it. And actually it doesn't take away from it. In fact, it's nice that you've asked for something and shared your need, and they have responded by giving that thing that you need to you. And you feel like, oh yeah, we are on the same team.
Yeah,
I am allowed to ask for these things.
Yeah, and it also helps if, say, you know, there's a time where I really need a bit of a pity party, and I'm like, can I just have a bit of a whinge? Like, can you feel sorry for me for a bit, please, just for like 60 seconds, and then just having a bit of fun with those situations that used to make us feel really like prickly, where I'd say launch into this like episode of like, you know, telling him about my day and talking about all this stress that I've had, and actually he's probably like, I don't really care. 1, 2. I'm actually reading stuff. I'm actually doing something else. He's already on his phone, like on BBC News, and I just launch into something, and I'm like, why aren't you listening to me? So now I've kind of learned to say, can I at some point just have like a minute, or if I need to talk about something big and it's gonna take 5 minutes of like, you know, proper like, you know, one-on-one time, to actually ask for that, rather than launching into something and then getting pissed off when he's actually doing something else, or really isn't interested, or really isn't in the right headspace as well. I think you have to kind of give a bit of signposting. I think that signposting comes with the kind of asking for what you need as well.
Nice, I like it. So I think my first one would be about the importance of self-care, and each of us really looking after our self-care, and how when we don't, how that impacts on the relationship. And this is something that I read about when I was single, and I remember thinking, I'm gonna keep this in my back pocket for when I am in a relationship, because I've been single for such a long time that I'd forgotten about all the kind of tools and the things that you use. And it was a psychotherapist who said that whenever couples come to her and they're going through difficult times and they're really starting to fall out and they're not getting on well, she always looks at the first thing, not what's going on in the relationship, but how is their self-care, their own personal self-care, because she said guaranteed it's missing, guaranteed it's lacking, and that they're not actually looking after themselves properly and not doing things for themselves that they know they need in order to feel happy and in a positive mindset. And so always when, well, I say always, I try to always, when I'm starting to feel a bit like, and sort of niggled by things that he's doing, and sort of starting to throw blame in that direction, and start to feel like, things aren't enough, or he's not doing enough of this, or starting to feel niggly, then I will stop and go, is this a sign that actually your own self-care is lacking? When was the last time you had some proper, just when was the last time I had some proper me time and time on my own? And when was the last time that I actually went and did something that was nourishing for myself? Perhaps, how hard am I working? Do I need some, downtime? And actually start listening to my own self-care. And it really, really works. And when I go off and I go and spend some quality time on my own, or I go and do something nice for myself, it immediately shifts how I come back into the relationship. And I've noticed with the two of us, when he comes back from yoga, or I come back from doing some exercise or doing something lovely, we're in such a positive mood, you bring that energy into the relationship. And so that was something I'd never heard of before. It was certainly not something I used to practice in past relationships, and it really has, it's made a big difference.
Definitely. Yeah. I also agree with that. I think it's so important to come from that place of love rather than coming from a place of lack. But we don't always know what it is that we need. So I think it's so easy to kind of blame the other person without really knowing. It takes a skill, I think, to step back and go, hang on a second, maybe I need to check in with myself. I think that is a skill that you kind of develop over time, isn't it, practice? And
I think it also ties in with that whole thing of take responsibility for your own happiness when you're in a relationship and in life in general, even whether you're in a relationship or not in a relationship. And I think we're so programmed, we've said this before, by Hollywood films and the media around us, to suggest that you get your happiness from that person you're in a relationship with. So if you're single, you can't be properly happy because you haven't got that person feeding you with it. And when you're in a relationship, you're expecting to get it from your other half. Who isn't your other half, but that's a whole different topic. I should have said it another way. But that's how we think. We think of it being another half, and they're supposed to make us happy. So I think that whole thing of turning it around and going, hang on, if you're feeling in a funk, then you actually need to be the one to have a look how you can take yourself out of that, and not immediately assume, hey, why aren't you making me feel better? So what's your second one?
So my second one is to know when you need a reset. And for us, we find, how best to describe this, the dance floor is a really good way to blow away the cobwebs for us. And it's all dancing and going out and socialising with friends, or just going out. The two of us has always been a massive part of our relationship. But I think sometimes when you've got to kind of, and how we've really evolved over 5 years, we've kind of taken on more responsibilities. So one of the big ones was getting a dog, and moving in together, and you kind of acquire all these other things. So you're now not just boyfriend girlfriend, you're like housemates as well. And then now you're taking care of a dog, and your roles change. And for you guys, your roles have changed massively, and it's kind of like navigating, going, oh shit, okay, right, it's not just how it was when we first started going out, but knowing those activities that really bond you together, and kind of remembering all the fun stuff as well, because it's so easy to get into that kind of niggly housemate kind of mode, and then you're like, oh, hang on a minute, this isn't how it's supposed to be. And to take yourself out of that, kind of out of your usual grooves, and kind of reset. And for us, when we've been out and had a night on the dance floor, the next day I'm like, oh my god, I feel so clear, and I feel so much calmer and more relaxed about everything, and I'm just approaching things in a completely different way, and we're getting along better, and everything's much easier from that place as well.
I love that, because it is, the way you say it makes me think of it's about getting back to being boyfriend and girlfriend again, even after you're now husband and wife, or your parents, or your co-dog carers, or your housemates, or actually just getting back to that simple, just the two of you having fun and dating and dancing and doing whatever it was that drew you together in the early days.
Exactly.
I like that. That's great.
And there's a secondary element to this, and this is something that we talked about the other day on the weekend, getting a cleaner as well.
That was going to be our bonus one.
That's been that's already made a massive difference. It's only been 2 months, but just not having to think, oh god, when do we need to do the floor, and who's going to mop and who's going to hoover. Well, we usually have set roles. I do I never do hoovering or mopping, so Pam will do that, and then I'll do the bathroom. But it's just boring. We don't want to spend our weekends doing that. And now that's been taken away, it's like, oh, that's lovely. We get home, we're like, oh, It's just done, and we don't have to think about it. Yeah,
outsourcing,
and outsourcing the dog as well. Having someone collect the dog and take him to daycare, drop him off, and we've got a lovely girl Anna that looks after Buddy 2 days a week as well, and just like asking for help, getting help. You don't need to take on everything on your own. So that's kind of related to the to that second point, because it's like, you know, remembering all that fun that you used to have, and rather than like arguing about all the you know, sweating the small stuff, actually get help with that stuff and kind of remember that that's not important, and, you know, to kind of keep coming back to the two of you.
And making sure as well that it's not about, remembering the fun we used to have that we don't have anymore. It's actually going, well, we can have it, so let's have it next Saturday.
Yeah, I know.
Let's still have the fun.
Let's have it right
now. Okay, so my last one, going from fun to anger. So that's, but this is something that has been a big kind of learning journey for me this year, has been actually looking at how I deal with anger, how I express anger. And we're not one of those couples, and I have been in relationships before where we wouldn't really argue, and, you know, things would annoy you and they sort of bury them down, and it's sort of, you know, kind of hold on to it and get resentful about stuff. We don't do that, which is good, but what we do is we tend to, it all suddenly comes out, something boils up and boom, it's out there. And it's something that's taken me by surprise, because I hadn't been in a relationship for such a long time. That side of me kind of lay dormant. And so suddenly I'm like exploding about stuff. And it's not an environment that I want to bring my son up in. So it was something that I said, I really need to find a way of dealing with my anger, because it's something that when the anger bubbles up in me, I could say I can't control it, but I can. But it feels at the times that I just have to express it, and I have to roar, and I'm justified in this. And so it's about learning that when that happens to either of us, because we both tend to do that, and I used to kind of romantically think of it, it's those our Latin spirits, but actually that's not a good enough excuse. Just because it's normalised by the cultures that we're from, and he's Venezuelan, I'm half Argentine, that shouldn't normalise it. And so instead it's going, every time we're about to explode, one of us will go, do you know what? I'm actually feeling angry right now, so let's talk about this later. And that's now an agreement that we've made. And it's great for us, but it's also great for me as well, to actually learn that, because anger is a very valid feeling. Quite often the anger is highlighting stuff we do really need to discuss, but you can't, there's a great phrase that said, explain your anger, don't express it.
Yeah, I love that.
And I think that's brilliant. And so that is something that now, eventually, and I got a great book called The Dance of Anger, which I forget who it's by, so we'll add a link somewhere. But that's been really brilliant in showing how to actually manage your anger and deal with it in a healthy way, rather than, you don't want to suppress it, but also it's also not useful to just blurt it out and throw it out into the room. So that's been actually a surprising lesson and kind of personal growth area for me this year, but I'm really glad, because it has made a difference. And it's important to me now that I'm a parent, to create an environment that I want Sammy to grow up in, and not be like, oh my God, why is Mum throwing the laundry basket across the room? In a peak of anger. Not at anyone, but just... It has happened. I was very sleep deprived. My baby was a couple of weeks old.
What did you throw, the laundry basket?
I threw the laundry basket.
At who? At the door?
Just down the hallway. Just to really show how angry I was. And I couldn't find words for it, so I was behaving like a child that couldn't find words. So I was just like, I'm just going to throw this laundry basket. And now you'll understand how angry I am. I mean, that doesn't go anywhere. So, yeah.
Yeah, and when you're in that kind of panicked state, you're not thinking straight at all, obviously. So the parts of your brain that usually kind of help you become more rational are just not there. They're being suppressed. You're in kind of fight or flight mode. So the brain is like, panic. It's the most predatory state of mind, isn't it? So
and in a I am right mode, which again, that's not really a space for, harmonious discussion and finding a solution to anything.
There's no negotiations or compromise. It's my way.
So there you go. There are our lessons. If you have any to share, we would love to hear from you. So just add your comments below, and we'll be back with more of these videos sometime soon.